right, so my timer cards are coming in just a few seconds. So welcome everyone. This is Angela Roush. I am the chair of Livable Sunnyvale. This is our September general meeting where we are hosting a candidate forum, and we are very grateful to Sunnyvale Community Services for hosting us. We are nonpartisan. We do not endorse candidates. So this event right now is just an informal gathering to create a friendly, engaging environment to learn about our candidates that are running for council and mayor in our community. So I would just ask for a moment of silence. There was another school shooting in Georgia, and all I know is probably what you know is the suspect is quite young. So just take a moment of silence, however you want to spend it. So thank you. So our forum tonight, like I said, is casual. So I'm hoping everyone will agree to letting me call them by their first names. So for those of you who don't know, we have Charlsie Chang, Russ Melton, and Larry Klein. This is our first candidate forum in October. We will host the other candidates from the other two districts, which escaped me right now. Which districts are they? 2 and 6. Thank you. I meant to look that up before I get them all confused. So anyway, welcome. Part of the way our forum will run is we'll randomize people to answer questions. And they have seen the questions beforehand. They have not seen the lightning round, which is at the end. So they did have time to prepare, but they don't know the order. So that's the only wild card here. So our opening statement will begin with Russ, please.
Well, thank you very much. Hi, everybody. My name is Russ Melton. I'm your Sunnyvale City Council member, and it's been an honor and a privilege to serve. Thank you for the past 8 years. Thank you, team. I appreciate you. It's great to be here for the Livable Sunnyvale informal gathering for the September general meeting. It's great to be here at Sunnyvale Community Services, this beautiful building here on Kern Avenue. We all remember the former building over on Kiefer. Just what an amazing location, in this community room that is available for use as it is tonight. Angela, I want to say thank you for hosting the event tonight, and we all know you're going to do a great job moderating this informal gathering, and of course you can use my first name, and I really appreciate the informality. It's been a real honor and a privilege to serve as your Sunnyvale City Council member for the last 8 years. I've been raising my family here. I have 2 kids at Fremont High School, and I love Sunnyvale. Chuck, can you hear me okay back there? Thanks, Larry. Thank you, Larry. It's all good. It's a real honor to run for mayor of the city of Sunnyvale, and I'll tick off some endorsements here. I'm proud to be endorsed by Santa Clara County Sheriff Bob Johnson, the Sunnyvale Public Safety Officers Association, the Sunnyvale Employees Association, and my colleague, Council Member Omar Dean. With the few seconds of time that I have remaining, I want to say in my district, District 4, please give all your support to Charlsie Chang, who is running for City Council and is sitting here to my right. And with the very, very few seconds I have remaining, I'd like to say to everybody in Sunnyvale, please vote yes on Measure E, which is the library bond. I don't know if we have any lightning round questions on that, but please support Measure E. Thank you.
Thank you. Charlsie? Sometimes the mics work better if you Go like that.
Thank you. Can everyone hear me? Okay, thank you for hosting. I'm Charlsie Chang. I'm running for City Council for District 4, which is the southeastern side of Sunnyvale, which borders Santa Clara and Cupertino. I'm not running for mayor. I'm just on the stage with them. Um, I am running unopposed, but I will still be on the ballot because there's a citywide race, so it still goes to the ballot. There's an election code about that. I am a lifelong public servant. I have worked at a community choice aggregator for Supervisor Joe Simidian, Assemblymember Alex Lee, and now I work in the public transportation space at the San Mateo County Transit District, which oversees Samtrans, Caltrain, and the Transportation Authority. So I want to bring that experience and my network and leverage that to the city. I'm proud to be endorsed by the entire city council and a number of local electeds and unions. Thank you.
Thank you. And Larry, please.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Sunnyvale Mayor Larry Klein, and I'm just say I'm proud to be Sunnyvale's mayor over the last almost 6 years now, and setting the example as Sunnyvale's first directly elected mayor. You know, I've served Sunnyvale for over 20 years now with on the 9 years on the planning commission, nonprofit boards, ultimately on council for almost 8 years now, and then as your directly elected mayor. And, you know, I'm also one of the Livable Sunnyvale's founders. I'm happy to be here and having them host this, and happy that Sunnyvale Community Services is able to open up this space for so many people. For me, you know, I've fought for progressive values for the last 8 years on council, and it's those values that mimic what Livable Sunnyvale is here for. You know, I've fought for Sunnyvale's voice regionally, trying to make sure during COVID that we got what we needed from our city and every city around the county, trying to fight for our residents from a health standpoint and making sure that we could all make it through together. There's more work to be done. And for me, that's the main reason why I'm running again. You know, it's the example that I've set as council member, as vice mayor and mayor, and it's trying to make sure that setting that example for council, especially as we're in a transition point with a new city manager, a new city attorney, is trying to make sure that we're moving in the best direction. My power is my network of supporters and partners at the federal, state, county, and city level, from Ro Khanna to Evan Lowe, Dave Cortese, county supervisors Otto Lee, Cindy Chavez, Susan Ellenberg, and the majority of my fellow council members endorse me and support me, and that's how you get things done on council. It's partnership. It's making sure that especially as mayor, you can pull the right people together. Please vote for me in November. Thank you.
Thank you. So our questions are modeled after our pillars: housing, sustainability, transportation, and equity. But our first question is, what are the top 2 challenges Sunnyvale faces, and what will you do about them? And Larry, you're first, please.
Thank you. The top 2 challenges that Sunnyvale faces are housing and homelessness and safe streets and active transportation. And, you know, housing and homelessness has been one of my issues since I've been on council, working with affordable housing nonprofits, trying to make sure that we get more additional affordable housing in our community. I've been a big ADU advocate, trying to deal with those issues and trying to get more housing of all types, transit-oriented development, multi-family housing in our city. I've been seeing that success, but making sure that unhoused services are being provided to those most in need, and making sure that we're dealing with the homeless issue humanely. And then as far as safe and active streets, I've been a long time active transportation advocate. You know, we need to get people out of their cars, biking and walking, and we do that through walkable communities. But the other half of that is we try to make sure that it's important for for future generations. The only way we've battled climate change, and transportation is our biggest producer as far as greenhouse gases, is getting people out of their cars. And there's lots of solution from a citywide shuttle to that active transportation. And I've been happy to see some successes that I've had over the last 8 years on council, and looking forward to working another 4. Thank you.
So next is Russ, please.
Hey, thank you for the question, which is top 2 challenges. I spend 3 hours a day, at least 5 days a week, precinct walking in Sunnyvale. It's a real pleasure. And so when I'm talking to folks at their front door, I say my top 2 issues are number 1, safe and secure Sunnyvale. So that's my top issue. I feel that we need more cops in Sunnyvale for burglary suppression, traffic enforcement, and patrol. Also, I encourage voters to vote yes in November on Prop 36. Prop 36 is going to be a modification to Prop 47 from 10 years ago, and this will help address, I think, regional issues like smash and grab burglaries, heist, package heists, and so forth. The other topic that I talk about with voters at their front doors is efficient delivery of government services, because you work hard for your tax dollars. And these messages really resonate with voters. Later on in this meeting tonight, we're going to be talking about what services will Sunnyvale provide to residents, but it's also a matter of taxation and revenue. And I'm proud to have stood up twice in the past 2 years to a concept called real property transfer tax. I'd like to say that I don't think that's a good idea for Sunnyvale, and I've helped work to defeat that. And let's do the best with the budget that we have for the residents of Sunnyvale. Thank you very much.
Charlsie, please.
Thank you. So similarly, mine are also about affordability, so housing affordability, and what I more of a catch-all of public safety, including bike and pedestrian safety. So for housing affordability, I'm a renter in District 4, and in my zip code, the median home price selling is $2.7 million. And so that's not something, that I can afford, despite both my partner and I both having incomes, and it's not feasible for us to be able to afford a home in that area. And we really want to stay here, but it's something that we grapple with, just like a lot of the other young people in this city. On the other part of that is a lot of the lower income residents of Sunnyvale are sometimes just one paycheck away from becoming homeless or losing their homes. So for affordability, for housing, and for groceries, for this, just living and staying in Sunnyvale can be a huge challenge. On the public safety front, walking and biking, we really, really need to work on safe routes to school. We really need to implement safer bike lanes. I live on Wolf Road, so I see a lot of the traffic issues, and a lot of the bicycle and pedestrian deaths have happened right in front of my street.
Thank you. So some questions from our housing pillar. The first question is, Sunnyvale recently awarded $30 million in funding for 600 new affordable housing units. This is great progress, but Sunnyvale must permit over 800 affordable units every year for 8 years to meet its RHNA goals. Do you think these goals are achievable? And what can Sunnyvale do to accelerate housing production? Charlsie, please.
Thank you. I do think it is feasible. It is going to require a lot of work, but we do have an approved housing element. And we have a lot of really great Moffett specific plan. We have the Lawrence Station program, but we also do have a lot of opportunity in South Sunnyvale, even in the housing element. And for Ponderosa Park, there's nearly 2,000 units that need to be built in just Ponderosa Park area that has been identified. And there are a lot of opportunities for county and state funding. I don't want to bully Mountain View, but Mountain View has gotten a large amount of Measure A funds, disproportionate to their city size, and much more than Sunnyvale has gotten. So really wanting to leverage the funds that are already available and going out to get more of that funding.
Thank you. Larry.
Actually, it was only $26.5 million. We tried to give away the 30 million, but it was several projects weren't actually ready for construction, so it was pre-construction money. But whether or not it's achievable, I'm hoping so. This is why we rely on our specific plans to zone for housing. 20,000 units in Moffett Park, but all of our specific plans around the city are critical to build multifamily housing. And a lot of it has to do, as Charlsie was saying, it's with affordability of construction as well as where they find those funding. And I was really disappointed to only get $2 million from Measure 2016 Measure A, and that's why when Regional Measure 4 was discussed, $20 billion around the 9 Bay Area counties. I fought to make sure that all the cities outside of San Jose were going to split that $2.4 billion. And it's trying to create affordable housing. We need to build smaller, denser. We need more ADUs, which we can spread throughout our single-family communities. From a city standpoint, we need to look at that funding source, but then also streamlining and removing fees where we can in order to create that housing. But it's not going to be easy, and the cost of construction just continues to go up.
Larry, you have to talk more like this.
Sorry.
That's
you.
much better.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Russ,
Yeah,
yes.
I'll go next. I want to say thank you to Gail Rubino. You typed in a comment. You said, I can't hear the speaker. So if that happens again, Gail, just type in your comment. We need to hear this feedback. Look, the question asked, do you think it's achievable? I will never say that it's unachievable, right? I'm an elected officer of the city of Sunnyvale, and by golly, we implemented a housing element that was ratified by the state of California. And by golly, just like we council ratified our active transportation plan and we're getting to it, by golly, we're going to get to the housing element. And I want to call out specifically from Livable Sunnyvale, and I've said this before, Agnes and Chuck, you guys did phenomenal yeoman's work on the housing element, and I really appreciate what you two did as the subgroup here of Livable Sunnyvale on that. I am not convinced that lowering the park dedication fund fee is actually going to do anything to stimulate housing in Sunnyvale, but it's something that we signed up to do in the housing element. So by golly, we're going to get to it. We can probably increase the affordable housing percentage as part of our rules in Sunnyvale. And as been mentioned before, we have our 4 specific plan areas where we've upzoned for more housing in transit-rich areas of the city, including Lawrence Station, El Camino, downtown, and the big one is Moffett Park. And we do need to streamline, and we need to hire more plan checkers and other employees in the community development department. So when the applications roll in, we can process them. Thank you.
Charlsie? Oh, wait a second. No, you done. Okay. Phew. So you're not next. The next question, what steps will you take to support retail through the city, including the proposed village centers in North Sunnyvale? And Russ, you're up, please.
Yeah, thank you. This is a really important question, and it points to sort of the circularity and how all policy is tied together. So we've had moments in Sunnyvale where we've been talking about housing, and it's an important question. And now the housing has been upzoned, and we're now facing knock-on questions about what about retail in Sunnyvale. So these are sort of the progressions of public policy that we deal with. There was a vote 2 years ago on a village center project in Sunnyvale. It was at Fremont Corners 2 near the high school. And I want to talk about how I voted on that particular vote because it's a precursor to what is happening today at Lakewood and Duane. My vote on Fremont Corners 2, when the developer did what they wanted to do, is I decided that the risk was low and I decided to support staff and the Planning Commission, and I voted for a project that is right for Sunnyvale. You fast forward 2 years, and now we have some developers that maybe feel emboldened by the council vote on Fremont Corners 2. And I just want to assure everybody at Livable Sunnyvale that as your next mayor, regardless of what happened 2 years ago, I'm going to fight. And I'm already having these conversations with the city manager about what we can do to get the right project across the finish line at Dwayne and Lakewood. And I'm having these conversations with the city attorney as well. Thank you.
Larry, please.
Yes, thank you. So definitely what we're seeing with village centers are the repercussions and ultimately the realities of misuse of the state density bonus laws. And, you know, we can't cannibalize our retail for the sake of housing. And there is a housing crisis, but we're seeing developers, and I'll say the most what historically we've been able to negotiate with the majority of these developers. What we're seeing now is developers misusing those state density bonuses when they're meeting our Sunnyvale's minimum of 15% inclusionary requirements. We need to, of course, really upzone each of those sites, all the village centers around the city, and make it more feasible for higher density stacked flats and make retail a lot more available. And, you know, I've been working with, you know, the city attorney, the city manager on what we can do, what we have to do to make sure that we have all of our ducks in order before we see those projects in front of council. But also, you know, talking to our state legislators that you cannot create food deserts in our communities. This is the repercussions of having concessions within state law, that if you're building housing, you get pretty much to do whatever you want. And that isn't good for our community. That's not good for Sunnyvale. That's not good for any community that's trying to create a well-defined city. Thank you.
Charlsie? Mike comes.
Thank you. So we do need to build more housing to keep up with the projected job growth and residents that are going to be moving in. But it's really important that we protect our retail and our grocery stores and our small businesses. But the economics of it right now are that it's most feasible to a lot of developers to build townhomes, which is it's important housing, but it's also makes it difficult for those small businesses to be able to continue operating there. So we need to look at if there's other types of density bonuses, if there's more mixed use, if we can help the businesses, if we are building there, if we can help them transition into a different location, a temporary location, or what we're going to do while they're developing because a lot of these small businesses, they get to learn about it from the news and they don't know what's going on, especially the small businesses that might not speak English, and then they're finding out that they might lose their business later on. So really working with the business early on. For example, there is an identified later on center at Old San Francisco and Wolf. There's a laundromat there. There's a place where people send money to their home countries there. Those are, and water distribution. Those are really important small businesses that support our community, and we need to support our small businesses.
Thank you. Let's see. Between 2009 and 2019, Sunnyvale's median rent increased by over 80% in comparison to Santa Clara County's median rent increase of 39.4%. And since then, rents in Sunnyvale have continued to rise beyond median rents. What do you plan on doing to address Sunnyvale's soaring rent, Charlsie?
So Sunnyvale is a very desirable place. That's why a lot of people want to live here. But you know, as I mentioned earlier, I'm a renter, so I understand the dynamics. Every year, my rent goes up the maximum amount possible. So what we need to do is building more types of all kinds of housing. I actually, the place that I rent, we have an ADU in the back, and one of our friends actually rents in the back. So it's looking at new solutions for these, especially in District 4. There's kind of interesting shaped lots. And what other opportunities there might be. But definitely we have to build more housing. And we are ambitious in our housing element, so really being able to put those projects forward, but making sure that we balance that with traffic, with our residents in mind, and our businesses.
Russ, please.
Hey, thank you very much. You know, for the 8 years that I've been on city council, I supported the upzoning and transit-rich areas of Lawrence Station, El Camino, downtown, Moffett Park. I'm a very simple person. I believe in supply and demand. And that tells me that with the desirability that folks want to live here in Sunnyvale, we have to come up with more housing. That's been done with the specific plans and the housing element, and now it's time to streamline city operations and find a pathway to yes quickly. Not knocking city staff, but we just need more resources in terms of plan checkers and the building officers, staff, and just people who get this stuff across the finish line. We worked really hard in Sunnyvale for the mobile home park MOU. I'm really proud of that accomplishment because that was a voluntary, hard-fought bargain between the tenants and the mobile home park owners in Sunnyvale. All of our mobile homes signed on to the program. All of our mobile home parks signed on to that program. And I'll tell you, just being entirely consistent for 8 years now, I'm not a fan of rent control. I'd much prefer the mobile home park MOU process of a voluntary agreement rather than something legislative. And I find myself as a fan of no on Prop 33 this November, which would repeal Costa-Hawkins and implement stricter rent control provisions. So thank you very much.
Oh, Larry, please.
Yes, thank you. Definitely rents in Sunnyvale seem to have become unaffordable, and so shockingly, there was a survey earlier this year that Sunnyvale was one of the most affordable cities because of the salaries of many of the tech workers. That being said, those most at risk, those trying to get by month to month, don't have an easy time. And you look at, the big 80% increase went until 2019, when finally the California put in the Tenant Protection Act, which did put some protections in, but it's not enough. And continuing to work with our state legislators to try to make improvements that will affect everyone in the state, because I think that is the critical thing. I've heard from advocates that we should do rent stabilization for renters. Surprisingly, I haven't heard that from renters themselves in my 8 years at council. I've heard from the mobile home communities. I spent a lot of time there as they worked out their MOU, and I was actually very, very happy to see that success of getting the landlords to agree, not just to have something in place going forward, but make part of that retroactive, making it easier for some of those seniors to live in their mobile homes and have a better quality of life. And so, we also need to utilize Project Sentinel more in order to make sure that we're protecting our renters.
Thank you. And we'll move on to our sustainability pillar. And the question is, currently, the city's ban on new natural gas installations in developments are on hold due to Berkeley's court ruling. Are there other approaches the city can implement to require new developments to be 100% electrical? Larry, please.
Thank you. Yes, I'm a big climate advocate. I'm a climate mayor. I'm chair of the executive committee for Silicon Valley Clean Energy, and their mission is to decarbonize all the buildings within our cities. As far as responding to the Berkeley decision, I was very upset about what we were doing to electrify buildings. All new buildings had a positive effect, and now we couldn't enforce it. But one of the things that Silicon Valley Clean Energy is doing is providing attorney oversight and kind of suggestions on ways cities can respond. And the two big ways that is one thing is requiring the air quality of new buildings, and the only way you can do that is basically remove gas lines within the buildings. Or the other thing is, of course, making sure that your buildings are emissions free. And so ultimately, Sunnyvale will be bringing a resolution and an ordinance change sometime. Our staff will be bringing that back to council sometime in the next year. And I look forward to figuring out staff's solution to getting it done in a different way than what we did the first time. Thank you.
Charlsie, please.
Yeah, so even though there was the decision for new buildings, there's still a lot of opportunity for existing buildings, including our library, which has really old and aging infrastructure. A lot of our older homes, we can still be switching out our gas appliances, uh, heat pump water heaters. And for a lot of our larger buildings like our schools, there's a lot of opportunity for solar and storage to be built. I think there was a project from Silicon Valley Clean Energy which funded that. So a lot more of voluntary switches, even if we're not even if we're not allowed to mandate it for now on new existing buildings. There's a lot that we can do with our current infrastructure and a lot of the old aging buildings.
Thank you. Russ?
Yeah, thanks, Angela. I wanted to just mention, I saw Gail Rubino chime in with a comment about 100% of mobile home parks, and the comment flashed by very quickly. I think it was about the 2 mobile home parks on Henderson in District 4 that are 100% renter, and we excluded them from the mobile home MOU park process very early on in the process. So I appreciate that correction and amplification from Gail. I am very proud that when we were kicking off discussions about a new library in Sunnyvale, I raised my hand and I said, this gosh darn thing needs to be LEED Platinum. And we've ended up that way, and I think that's going to be a good result and a leader for Sunnyvale. With regards to the question, you know, we're just going to have to support our city attorney's office in pushing back and fighting every way that we can and supporting turning around what happened in Berkeley with that legal decision. We're going to have to keep working on voluntary incentives and talking to our builder community. We're going to have to keep working with Silicon Valley Clean Energy. And I think there are opportunities for slight concessions from our zoning code to incentivize people to do the right thing. But that's not a dial that I want to turn too much more. So those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll move on to transportation. How do you make Sunnyvale more safe for cyclists and pedestrians? Charlsie.
So we do have the active transportation plan, but we don't have a dedicated funding stream to implement it. So a lot of it is really building out the infrastructure, improved infrastructure, safer bike lanes, working with with safe routes to school. And some of it too might be a little controversial, but I think having DPS enforce more of the traffic violations. I constantly see people texting on their phones. You know, people aren't fully aware that they are operating 4,000-pound vehicles when someone is riding a bike or walking. They're, you know, it's a very small person compared to the car, and we really need to be talking more about how dangerous it can be for pedestrians and for cyclists when, for example, you're crossing El Camino or you're crossing a major intersection. How quickly things can go negatively when people aren't paying attention and they're using their phones or they're driving distracted. But we also need to incentivize people to get out of their cars, you know, experiencing what it's like to walk and to bike and to take transportation. For a lot of people, especially our multi-generational families, they don't have access to a vehicle, so they are often walking, and people don't have the concept of how dangerous it can be out walking if they don't experience it themselves.
Thank you. Let's see. Larry.
Thank you. Yes, I'm a big active transportation advocate. You know, I'm a runner, I'm a biker, I walk downtown, we live downtown. Continuing to create that transit-oriented development around the city is critical. I'm happy that 4 years ago, one of the things I ran on was quick build projects, and those are finally part of the toolkit from a Department of Public Works standpoint. You know, it's happy to see, you know, quick trials of how to improve biking and pedestrian safety within our city, and then realize how to make it permanent. You know, creating more Class 1 trails is really important. You know, I've been a big advocate to get the Stevens Creek Trail extended to Fremont. The concept of an Evelyn Trail, which I had asked about years ago, finally is coming to pass. And working with Valley Water to convert the East Channel into a multi-use trail. Working with VTA on a bike highway along El Camino Real, and ultimately Caltrans to implement as much of that along El Camino from a bike lane standpoint that's part of our ATP. We need to invest more, we need to partner more, and luckily this year we staffed Public Works a little bit better, so traffic and active transportation will conceivably move a little bit faster. Thank you.
Thank you. Russ?
Thank you. I'm going to look back on this night and always remember the bright blue microphone that is being handed back and forth. I want to say I agree completely with Commissioner Charlsie Chang to my right here about the need for more enforcement in Sunnyvale for our traffic laws and issuing more tickets. I hear this all the time from residents when I'm out precincting. We need more cops enforcing traffic laws on our streets because I don't feel safe for my kids as they go to school. And I'm the parent of two teenagers, which puts me in a pretty unique position. For as long as they biked from my house to Cupertino Middle School, or when they wheeled off to get to Fremont High School, as soon as they left my driveway, I would say a quick prayer to the heavens for their safe delivery at their intended destination, right? And I share with all parents those feelings, and now I'm teaching them to drive. And I'm a tough teacher. My kids would tell you I'm very strict. When there's a pedestrian in sight, I make sure that they understand what the rules are. There's just one other thing I want to say with the few seconds that I have left is we have this beautiful, incredible active transportation plan, and at City Council, we can't stop arguing about the contents of the active transportation plan. I want City Council to unleash our incredible Public Works Department to actually build the things that are in the active transportation plan, and then we'll do a new ATP in 4 years. It will be beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question. Earlier this year, residents expressed concern about the difficulty children living in North Sunnyvale have getting to school using public transportation. What steps would you take to make it easier for these students to get to school? Larry, please.
Thank you. And, residents started coming to us last year on the issues with Fremont Union High School and or Fremont High School and Homestead High School, and what their high school students were not able to do, either missing the buses or ultimately not being able to do in after-school programs. I was happy that I was able to advocate and work with VTA and Fremont Union High School District to convene a session where parents and some of our Spanish-speaking parents were there to talk about all the issues that they have with the VTA service as it currently stood. Ultimately, that was a study issue from a Sunnyvale standpoint, but ultimately the two main people who could fix it were Fremont Union High School District and VTA. And guess what? They did listen. They did improve VTA improved its service. Fremont Union High School District ended up funding monthly bus passes for high school students. And we've seen actual progression from that standpoint. From what the city can do, I've been a longtime advocate for a citywide shuttle, which would help seniors, which would help high school students, which would help the unhoused. But we finally have a Perry Parks Rides pilot program, pilot shuttle that will be starting in the fall. And this is one step to a long-time citywide shuttle, which would help those high school students going forward. But I'm happy to see, we have a partial solution and looking for a permanent one. Thank you.
Russ, please.
Thank you. Here's something I've said before at City Council. Every time the conversation comes up about our incredible high schools in Sunnyvale, you'll walk away with the impression that we have two. In fact, we have three. And as your City Council member for District 4, all of the incredible high schoolers in my district go to Wilcox High School in Santa Clara. And I just feel the need to bring that up. It's important. I feel the pathway forward to the solution here is to hold our partners accountable for their responsibilities and their actions. And I think it's pretty well understood the action that happened in 1982 by the Fremont Union High School District in closing Old Sunnyvale High School. And that action still ripples today forward through the decades, through time, and impacts our children at Fremont High School. And they have to be held accountable. There's conversations about, doing a shuttle program in Sunnyvale, and I can wrap my mind around that, but I'm always asking at city council when the superintendent shows up or one of the FUHSD board members, okay, how much are you going to contribute to this program? Because you have to be part of the solution. And also we need to hold VTA accountable, and they have increased their service routes for our kids in North Sunnyvale. So these are the sorts of things that I think about, not just that it's a Sunnyvale only solution, but how do we work with our partners and take to task and hold folks accountable for their actions and responsibilities. Thank you.
Charlsie, please.
Yeah, I think the advocacy for pushing for more service from BTA is really important. But one thing I would push them on more is, or on the school district more, is why kids are required to go in monthly to pick up the passes. That's a pretty big hurdle for the kids to pick them up. We've already seen it with free and reduced lunch. If there's an additional hurdle, it impacts people wanting to be able to utilize it. And if they don't pick it up that month, what happens then? Are they still able to get a pass? So I think really looking at that a little bit more to make it more accessible for all the students, and really looking forward more into the city shuttle, and how that might work, or if we end up joining the neighboring cities.
Thank you. Okay, last question in transportation. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the highest, how would you rank public transportation in Sunnyvale? If you don't rank it high, what would you do to improve it? Russ, please.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the question, Angela. I'm going to be totally honest. I decided not to provide a numeric response to the question just because there are so many partners and so many levels and facets to it all. I just couldn't come up with a number. So I'll take a pass on that. I will tell you, when it comes to VTA specifically, I am a massive fan of Assemblymember Mark Berman's attempts at governance reform for VTA. He tried it first with an assembly bill that did not get very far. It would be, let's just hardwire the governance structure of VTA to have less dependence on appointed elected officials and more dependence on appointed experts who know what they're looking at and know what they're talking about, experts in infrastructure and experts in governance and experts in transportation. The most recent thing that Assemblymember Berman has done is to commission a report from the state auditor's office that I think has a lot of good information in it. So that's the number one pathway to start reform and improvements at VTA. And there's a case study for success in reforming governing boards that was done at El Camino Healthcare District. They expanded their board from just 5 elected officials at the hospital to 5 plus 4 appointees who are experts in hospital operations and patient care and billing and those sorts of things. I see the same thing for VTA. Thank you.
Charlsie, please.
I would say transportation in Sunnyvale right now, I would give it a 5. As of September 21st, I would give it a 6.5 with Caltrain electrification, with 30-minute frequencies on the weekends. But what I think a lot of the routes for VTA, so 56, 522, they are pretty good at going to other cities like Palo Alto or San Jose. But what I found a lot of difficulty is getting from southern Sunnyvale to northern Sunnyvale or vice versa. Even when I am at Sunnyvale Station, it'll say walk 20 minutes to get on this line to get to Sunnyvale Community Services. Or if I try to go to Sunnyvale Station, it'll say walk 37 minutes, which is not feasible for a lot of people. I can do it as an able-bodied person, but for a lot of people, that's not a good amount of time that someone should be able to walk. And if you miss a bus, like I did the other day, there in hour frequencies. So you could just wait there for another hour. So I think 5 is generous.
Thank you, Larry.
And I would rate it 6.5. VTA service is good in certain corridors. Along certain corridors, it's very useful. You know, it gets a majority of our high school students to their schools in the morning. Um, but, and as we talked about, as Charlsie already talked about, Caltrain service, what we see, and I've been, you know, I was on the Citizens Advisory Commission for 7 years for Caltrain, helping design those electric trains. And on September 21st, when all those trains are electric and we have a new schedule, it really becomes a game changer for the South Bay. If you're going to Palo Alto, if you're going to San Jose, it's a quick ride. And during rush hour, it'll be every 15 to 20 minutes and 30 minutes on off hours. So that is really a big game changer. A citywide shuttle would definitely raise those numbers. You know, a year ago, I tried to get the city to partner with Cupertino and Santa Clara to look at a citywide shuttle funding from a state standpoint. The city manager at that point didn't agree. I didn't give up. I brought it back to council, partnered with other council members, and ultimately we ended up applying for the similar grant this year to do SB Hopper across those 3 cities. It's already started in Cupertino. It's already started in Santa Clara. Once you fill that last gap, high school students can get to any of our high schools. That's the number 2 highest locations in Cupertino, and I think it'll be a big game changer for Sunnyvale. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to our equity pillar. And the first question. Recently, Governor Newsom has ordered cities throughout California to clean up encampments within their borders. How do you think city leaders should respond to the encampments in Sunnyvale? Larry, please.
Thank you very much. We need continue to respond to homelessness with humanity. Homelessness is not a crime, but we can't let the encampments grow to where they are a health and safety issue in our community. We just cleaned up multiple encampments along Central Expressway this week. We offered shelter beds, we offered beds and services to try to get the unhoused into transitional housing and ultimately permanent housing. Not always successful for some of the unhoused, but I'm happy that we've partnered now with We Hope for homeless outreach, but also starting services to provide cleaning, you know, basically laundry services and showers within the city. That to me was a critical addition to the program. You know, I was a big advocate for that and was sorry that that service ended a few years ago. But we need to continue the outreach and finding beds for that transition, because that's, you know, the only way we get the unhoused into permanent housing is if they get the services, if they get on the list from a county standpoint, and finally get a permanent home. And that's how you end homelessness at the end of the day, making sure that everyone in our community has a home. Thank you.
Thank you. Charlsie, please.
Yeah, so I think often when we talk about encampments, we do overlook the concept that these are individual people and they might be experiencing homelessness for different reasons. Some are chronically homeless, some are transitionally homeless, some are they just became unhoused because of one lost paycheck. There's a lot of different inequality issues here, especially with housing costs. So what the problem with just kind of clearing people's belongings in the encampments is that we're not really solving the issues. There's not really a bed open for them. We're not investing in building more places for these people to be able to live with dignity. So, you know, what we're seeing in San Francisco is they're just buying them bus tickets to leave and go somewhere else. And that's not going to solve our issue that's affecting us regionally. So I think the city should continue what we have done is respond with empathy, but also working to continuing to build more housing, more opportunities for temporary housing and more permanent supportive housing.
Thank you. Russ?
Yeah, thank you. I applaud Governor Newsom's recent actions and directions to cities in California. The word that I use is muscularity. There is a time for local governments or county governments or state governments to help lift people up and into a better situation, even if that requires a little bit of muscularity combined with humanity and safety. A good example is in my district. About a year ago, there's a church on Dunford Avenue that had a large encampment, was deemed to be not a lawful encampment, not habitable. And Trudy Ryan and CDD and our incredible partners worked really hard with some dignity and grace and muscularity to put an end to that situation. I also approve and concur with Governor Newsom's Care Court system and have a lot of hope from that. And then when we talk about the county's responsibility, I would like to see the city of Sunnyvale for the encampments on Central Expressway to start getting pre-approval from the county of Santa Clara to start working on these instead of on a case-by-case basis having to go ask the county, which adds a lot of time. Also, if Caltrans can build a new fence along their rail corridor from north to south, I think the county come in and build new fencing that's really needed along Central Expressway. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question. Do you think the city should implement a safe parking program? If not, why not? Russ, please.
Yeah, the answer is yes. Now may I elaborate? I think the city of Sunnyvale, we have a study underway about a safe parking program. Look, it's going to be controversial. Whatever neighborhoods are identified for the potential safe parking program, neighbors are going to have opinions about it. So we're going to have to work through all of that with very robust outreach. I'm of the opinion that for an RV to park at a safe parking location, the RV vehicle must be lawful. It has to be registered, it has to be insured, it has to be operable per the rules set forth by the DMV. So you have to bring the vehicle up to a certain minimum standard. And then the big question is going to be what services are provided at the safe RV parking site. Number one is going to be security. Number two is going to be treatment for sewer effluent and the provision of safe clean water. I bet we hope could help out with provision of laundry services. And then what's going to happen at the same time once we establish a location for our RVs to go is we're going to use some of our budget surplus and we're going to provide more funding for our vehicle abatement officers. This is a number one topic I hear in neighborhoods is about that RV or those RVs that are illegally parked on my streets. And the two items go in pair together. Increased work with our VAOs and having a place such as a safe RV parking location to go to. Thank you.
Larry, please.
Thank you. Yes, I'm a big advocate to have safe parking in our community. I co-sponsored the issue and have already been working with churches and advocates on looking for locations that when we create our ordinance, it becomes a reality. You know, I've toured multiple safe parking sites in surrounding cities, and you know, it does create a much better environment overall. It's making sure that they're safe. It's making sure that they're sanitary. One of the things that I want to make sure is trying to look at actual hookups from an electrical standpoint, because far too many of them have two-stroke engines that they're using to charge the batteries on their RVs, and you know, that's not great for air quality in that community, as well as the surrounding community where those fumes are going. We need to make sure that they're lawful, you know, and from, I think the hardest thing is going to be finding the location. And I look forward to meeting with residents, and I encourage residents to come to our council meeting on November 12th when this study issue will come back to council. So that's the critical thing, is hearing what the residents want and ultimately seeing what the city staff support from their report to council. I think, you know, this is one of the tools that we definitely need so that we can increase enforcement in our community, as well as improve our ordinances themselves so that we can enforce parking and illegal parking on our streets more.
Thank you. Charlsie, please.
Yes, I support safe parking, and I think we're pretty far behind compared to neighboring cities. In Supervisor Simitian's office, I was helping on the shoreline lot, and that was 4 to 5 years ago. So we're now catching up, and I'm excited that we're starting on it. A lot of the time we see with people's vehicles, they actually sometimes can catch fire if they're not well maintained, and can be a lot of issues too, just fear of the neighbors calling the police or giving them trouble. So having a legal sanctioned place where they can stay and then there's supportive services, I think can really be a game changer for people. And so really wanting to see what type of public-private partnerships there are and working with the county too.
Thank you. Next question. City Council will be considering creating a guaranteed basic income program. What do you think are the benefits and deficits of this program? Do you think city funds should be allocated to support a GBI program? Charlsie, please.
I actually don't feel too strongly either way, but I know we are already in the midst of a pilot. So I am interested in seeing how that would help our residents. I know it's been successful in Stockton and other cities, but I want to see, if what the parameters are, who would be eligible. What the cons for UBI to me are if this infused money and then, after that duration ends, if they, lose certain services or certain things that they were able to pay for example, if they were finally going to their healthcare appointments or something like that, if they suddenly lost that additional source of income. So I'm really interested in seeing what the results are. Um, so I'm moderately supportive.
Thank you. Let's see. Russ, please.
Thank you. As has been noted, Sunnyvale is studying a guaranteed basic income program. And I've said before, I can wrap my mind around a GBI program provided that it supports the very youngest Sunnyvale residents. So let me explain further. I think a GBI program can make sense for a brand new child in Sunnyvale, let's say ages 0 to 3. That's where somebody's going to need a lot of support because as a parent myself, you know that diapers and formula are expensive. So under a GBI program, we're going to issue Target gift cards for Sunnyvale Target to the recipients, and they can go get whatever they want at Target. But like I just said, it's going to be primarily diapers and baby formula. I also want to say if we're going to do a GBI program, we need to make sure that the recipients are dispersed equally among Sunnyvale's 6 council districts. So if we have 30 GBI recipients in Sunnyvale, 5 of them have to be in District 1, 5 in District 2, District 3, District 4, 5, and 6. You get the point. So the final thing that somebody at City Hall needs to tell me about with GBI is what happened to the state funding, because that was a big part of the initial study, is that there were some amount of dollars available from Sacramento for GBI programs, and I'm not sure that's the case anymore, and we just need to be conscious in reconciling that. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. And Larry, make sure you do.
Yep.
You've been to good.
Thank you. So yeah, I'm signed up as a mayor for GBI. I think that there are a lot of benefits for a guaranteed basic income program. It is critical that we define what the eligibility is, and I envision this as families in transition. It's not permanent funding for any family, but especially a working, parents that are going through college and qualify from a certain standpoint that they're trying to get a degree, and that funding would be a critical measure for them to get childcare, to make sure that as they're going to college, as they're trying to better themselves from their job status, that the city is helping. And as far as funding that is concerned, there are philanthropic groups that are out there that conceivably provide funding. There's CDBG funding. There's lots of funding. We just need to finalize what our program is going to look like. Most likely have Sunnyvale Community Services manage it, but then what the eligibility is. I disagree that it's per district. We don't do anything per district. It would be a randomized group of eligibility. This is how we disperse those needs within the community. Certain districts have larger needs, and from that standpoint, we need to service all those people in our city. And I think that will make a difference. GBI isn't perfect. It's not a permanent funding source, but we do need to make sure that it's an option for some of our working families. Thank you.
Thank you. And the last question before we go into our lightning round is a short one, sort of. What can the city do to prevent homelessness? Russ, please.
Yeah, thank you. Number one, build more housing. We talked about that. Number two, hold the county accountable. We talked about that. Number three, I support Governor Newsom's care courts system. So we've talked about that. And then the fourth thing I have is support Sunnyvale Community Services. Marie, I don't want to embarrass you, but I've said many times that Sunnyvale Community Services is a real powerful differentiator in improving people's lives here in the city of Sunnyvale, acting as the safety net. And it's just an incredible organization. Sunnyvale Community Services was having an existential crisis a year ago or so with the dissolution of Silicon Valley Bank. And I'm real proud to have taken a leadership position on Sunnyvale City Council in moving the city forward to partnering with Sunnyvale Community Services to stabilize the finances, pay off the loan, make sure that operations can continue because it's that important. So thank you for letting me talk for a few seconds about one of my favorite topics, which is Sunnyvale Community Services. Thank you.
Charlsie, please.
Yes, so similar to Russ, so one is building more housing, building more affordable housing, more programs like safe parking, more working with our partners at the county level and really supporting our lifeline programs like Sunnyvale Community Services, more emergency rent funding if someone loses their job, working with our state legislators, really getting a sense of if someone does lose their job, what things that people can access, what other funding might be available for emergency situations, if their family member gets really sick, if there are payment plans, if there are just ways for them to get through the issue at hand. So all the different issues we talked about today, so more affordable housing and more programs to support people that may be going through problems.
Thank you. And Larry?
Yes, I came from a working family. I know the issues of moving around to get cheaper rent, and this is a critical thing: preventing homelessness, trying to make sure that families don't lose the housing that they have. That's why we fund Sunnyvale Community Services. Their goal is to prevent homelessness, and that's doing whatever they can to keep families in the current housing that they have. And so that's one of the reasons why they're a great partner. We help them pay off this current building that we're sitting in, but it's helping them fund those services to try to make sure that our families don't get out on the streets. And it's working with partners, it's building more housing. All those are creating us housing supply. It's helping those people living in their cars to have a better life. But for the people that are currently in housing and living paycheck to paycheck, whatever we can do to try to make sure that they don't lose that housing, because especially for kids that are going through schools, the concept of having to move, and I know this from being a kid, that moving from multiple schools when I was a kid, because we had to go to different housing, to cheaper housing. It's not easy on families, especially not easy on our students. And that's one of the things that I'm grateful for SCS to be a partner in our community. Thank you for what they're doing.
Thank you. This was really good. They were very good answers, very thoughtful. I took some notes because I want to go learn some more. So this, I mean, this is why we're here, to learn and to experience and understand more of why you do or think the way you do. So thank you. These are the fun ones, sort of. So you'll have 30 seconds for each response. And they did not see these questions before, but anyway, they'll be able to figure them out. First one, what volunteer activities do you participate in? Charlsie.
Right now, right now I don't have too much time for volunteering, but I do volunteer every year on the Caltrain holiday train. So the Christmas train that comes down, I am an elf every year, and I help with that during the holidays. But generally, I'll volunteer as things come up when the opportunity arises.
Thank you. Larry?
Thank you. Ultimately, I don't volunteer. You know, for me, the mayor is a full-time job. You know, it's community service with a stipend, but it takes every spare moment of my life. And that to me is my community service, it's my volunteerism. It's connecting residents who meet with me in my 8 years on at office hours at Bean Scene to the different nonprofits. It's paying it forward to a large degree. And, you know, 4 years from now when I'm off council, at that point, yes, definitely I'll be looking at a lot more nonprofits within the community.
Thank you. And Russ?
Thank you for the question. I also want to say thank you to Charlsie because she forgot one thing, Charlsie. You volunteered to serve as a commissioner on our Board of Library Trustees. And I thank Charlsie and all of our incredible commissioners. You know, what can I say? The mayor nailed it, right? A lot of the council members work full time and get the stipend. I'm a proud husband. I'm a proud father. Spend, you know, a balanced life to the best of my ability, raising my kids and being a good father, and then in service to the community as a council member. Thank you for letting me say that.
Libraries are for culture and companionship per the book Palaces for the People. Where do you stand on the library bond? Larry?
That's an easy answer. You know, yes, I am completely for Measure E for everyone. Happy that we will hopefully have a bond measure passed in November. Happy that we're having our branch library basically groundbreaking in Lakewood tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon. And, you know, it's creating those spaces that are critical for residents of all ages to be able to learn, to be able to grow, and to be able to meet. And that's what libraries are for everyone now.
Russ?
Yeah, thank you. As I said at the beginning, please, everybody vote yes on Measure E, and then let's take that a step forward. Agnes and Mike Cerrone, I think you two are the champions of our FPPC committee and operate the bank account and doing the lawn signs and the website and everything. So I want everybody who's watching, to any extent that you can make a contribution, financial or time-wise, to help get out lawn signs or maybe make a small contribution if that's in the cards for you. Find Agnes and find Mike, and they'll tell you how you can help. But we have to get it across the finish line. Thank you.
Charlsie, please.
Yes, so I am on the library board, so I feel very strongly about libraries, and I hope that it passes. And if anyone is listening and has a lot of money or campaign funds available, please donate to the library bond committee to get it passed.
Thank you. Next question. Prop 5 would reduce the approval threshold for housing and public infrastructure bonds to 55%. Do you support this? Charlsie?
Yes, I support it.
Thank you. Russ?
Yes.
Larry?
Simple yes.
Beautiful. Okay. Harder question. What was the last book you read? Russ?
Was a soccer referee book. My kids play soccer. They have since they were 4.5 years old, and then they got into soccer refereeing. Let's face it, is a great way to earn money. I'm going to have to come back with the title and the author of the book, but it was a British
And the
guy.
copyright.
And the copyright. It was a British guy who wrote about philosophy of soccer refereeing. So thank you.
Thank you, Larry.
Yes, my last book that I read was actually Charlie Hustle. I grew up in Dayton, Ohio, so the Cincinnati Reds and Pete Rose were a mainstay of my life as a kid. And it was interesting. It was great to see the rise of Pete Rose, a little sad to see the fall of Pete Rose. But it was really interesting to kind of relive my childhood, being in, Western Ohio, and ultimately Pete Rose was the icon of everything. Thank you.
Charlsie.
The recent one is It Ends With Us. I just like to read the book before I watch the movie for comparison. So I did both.
Thank you. Very good. Next question. What one store would you like to see in Sunnyvale? Charlsie. No comment from the audience.
Is it okay to say if it's already happening? Because I am really excited about Zarene's.
Very good. No, that sounds good. Very good. Thank you. Larry.
Yes, for me, actually, I've been already trying to do this. Walmart in North Sunnyvale. It's like having an anchor large grocery store uh, for that North Sunnyvale community is something that we envision for Moffett Park. And I think hopefully, they're a little close to the Santa Clara one, but that they're looking at opportunities. And as we add that retail and office space out there, it becomes a real anchor store for North Sunnyvale. So hopefully we'll get to see that.
And Russ.
Yeah, thank you. I was going to say a nice steakhouse like Alexander's Steakhouse or something that could be a real anchor in downtown Sunnyvale. But I like what the mayor is saying too about a large grocery store in North Sunnyvale. I was thinking about that as well. So thank you.
You. What is your favorite Sunnyvale outdoor art object? Larry.
I will say this is really hard. For me, I think it's double divers, and although it's fenced up right now, right along Caribbean, I think it's the most iconic piece of art that we have in the city. It's two Olympic divers, one doing handstands from a diving standpoint. To me, that is the best one. The Atari spaceship landing next to the Google site, the old Atari site, is probably number two. So thank you.
Thank you. Russ.
Yeah, I like Double Diver. I'm gonna go with Red Ribbon on the corner of Maud and Matilda. That's right out there, baby. Big piece of sculpture, bright color, beautiful form. And I'm looking forward to the next sculpture we're going to do, which is going to be at Las Palmas Dog Park. City Council moved forward and set wheels in motion potentially for a sculpture honoring our fallen police canine Jacks. And that may be a couple of years down the road, but I'm looking forward to seeing that happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Charlsie.
I really like the painted utility boxes. I just like looking at the variations and how creative people can be because I'm not creative at all.
Thank you. Okay, last question. If you could make one change to Sunnyvale, what would it be? Russ.
The That's a really tough question. I think back to that Tuesday night we were having a council meeting, and the disturbed individual intentionally crashed his car on the corner of El Camino and Sunnyvale Avenue, thinking that the pedestrians in the crosswalk that he was targeting were Muslim. They were actually something else. I'm going to take a little liberty if I can, just because I needed to wind up my thoughts. I appreciate you. Thank you. So I envision a, a change in Sunnyvale, a continual march forth in harmony and peace and safety and public safety, and just everybody getting along, moving this incredible city forward. Thank you for that question.
you, Charlsie.
I think it would be very hard to change, but just how segmented the different parts of Sunnyvale are. Even in South Sunnyvale, we have Cal Water, we're in Santa Clara Unified. There's multiple school districts throughout Sunnyvale. It's just hard to connect sometimes with people, at least for me, with North Sunnyvale, because it's just very different and it's very important to understand other people's issues too, but it's just sometimes we can get siloed into our little areas. So more connecting.
Thank you. And Larry.
Thank you. For me, the biggest thing would be a real health center. We don't have an emergency room. We don't have urgent care. I've been working with Supervisor Lee, and of course, the county budget was not so good this year. And I was trying to get urgent care added to the county health building that's Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 on Fair Oaks, trying to basically, we have a city of 155,000 people and no real health care. And to me, that is a problem and should be fixed. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we're at our closing statements. So the first one will be Charlsie, please.
Thank you. I hope that people will vote for me, even though I'm the only one on the ballot. But I'm just really excited to potentially be able to serve with the council and continue on the important work that they've all been doing and all the efforts that have been put forward. So I'm really looking forward to an exciting time in Sunnyvale and being able to continue on that important progress. So thank you for having me today.
Thank you. Larry, please.
Thank you. Thanks for having me tonight. The role of mayor is about being a community leader, setting a tone on the dais, and maintaining community trust. Sunnyvale has an excellent reputation as council, as the city itself, and maintaining that reputation is what I've worked for 6 years as mayor and 8 years on council. The mayor's not a dictator, but a leader with vision. It's collaboration with council members, it's collaboration with the city manager, residents, organizations. 3 years ago, I got laid off from my day job, and I made this my full-time job, being Sunnyvale's biggest cheerleader and advocate. We have a great city. We were named the number 9 safest city in the nation once again earlier this week or last week, and I'm ready to continue the work for another 4 years to make our city better, to focus on diversity, to make sure all voices are heard. So please look at joining my team, learning more, and visit larryformayor.com for more information. I'm looking for a better Sunnyvale for all. Thank you.
Thank you. And Russ, please.
Great to have the last question here. I wanted to say thank you to everybody who's here tonight. Just what an incredible room full of engaged residents, to my colleagues up here on the dais, to our moderator, Angela Rausch, the technical team in the back. Just thank you everybody for a great event, and of course also for the folks watching from home. For me, it's the honor of a lifetime to serve as a Sunnyvale City Council member in service to my community. It's an honor to be able to run to serve as Sunnyvale mayor. So I just am filled with gratitude for the opportunity. Like I said, I'm out 3 hours a day precinct walking, talking to folks, dropping off my flyers, and just being really engaged with the community. If my words resonate with you, I ask for your vote as Sunnyvale mayor, and you can learn more on my website, meltonforsvmayor.com. Thank you, everybody.
So thank you very much. This was very fun. This is one of my favorite things in this role, is to moderate this and learn about you guys more. So it's been a pleasure. I appreciate your time, your preparation. It was good. Thank you. Yeah. The only 2 business things that I have to say is like 2 months ago, occasionally we get asked to write letters on behalf of Sunnyvale for grant funding. So this was a letter that we approved in our bylaws on the board, and we just present it to you guys. So that was the letter that we sent a little while ago. And the only other thing is we now have a LinkedIn post. So I'm hoping all of you guys can join us on LinkedIn. And I thank you to Kat Angelov, who helped set that up for us. So thank you. And our next meeting will be, so there's something else in the back. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, Came up a couple times tonight, the Measure E, the library bond, and we're going to have a general meeting for anybody interested in supporting the library bond on September 12th, the Thursday. Probably be Zoom only, we're not sure, but um, for anybody interested in supporting that, we will have lawn signs and signs you can put in your window. So, or you can just dial into the Zoom meeting and find out other ways to help. So, want to let everybody know.
My microphone off. Anyway, the only other announcement is next month we'll be doing the same thing again. Another candidate forum, and I forgot which one it is, 6, 2 and 6. So that'll be next month at our normal time, the first of the month, which is October, first Wednesday, whatever that is. So that's all I have. Does Chuck have something?
Nope, that's it.
No, so thank you very much. Thank you again to Sunnyvale Community Services for hosting this, and education is what we do. Thank you.